show coming from the RAC store. With this back in the Mac in the back flow. Let's go, chillin' with raccoons by the back door. Take calls so you can stake more. All I wanna do is making dough, right? But I found this crew and doing alright. We wreck will bitch, ready to fight. So many raccoons ready for the boss life. I might fly high like a kite, right? But always ready for a shite for the right price. Raccoon supply has the right price. Giving you respect if it's likewise. So I'm buying all the mean guys with the clean heart. Read between lies, laser beam through lean eyes. Larry or with clean lies, trash mouth, mean smile, be wise. NFT wise, fuck with these guys. It's the RAC lab from the back lab. 110 of these in my backpack. Crazy RAC lab from the stash app. RAC will take a lead in this haystack. It's the RAC.
Good morning, RAC FM. Today we're gonna shine some rays on Will regarding the solar debacle. Listen in, guys. It's gonna be perfect. And Finn, you got something for me today?
Excuse me? Very bold of you to break the fifth wall. I guess while you have me here, I would just encourage everybody to head on over to imaginethesmell.org. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll pass it back over to you, Bruce, who will then ask Straylight about his space tomorrow that he doesn't even show up for. You know how I know that? Because I know the fucking future.
So how have you been, Straylight? You got a space tomorrow on the Friday RAC FM with Robo, man. I'm looking forward to that.
They can't hear me.
Yeah, I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but I don't even want to know.
That's good, man. That's how
doesn't want to know.
That's how we roll.
Because he's not going to
show
show
up. Kind of unprepared, winging it.
Oh my god!
In RAC FM.
I wish you could.
Robo's writing. He's getting worked right with the sound. Just going to try and send him.
Sheldon.
There's Sheldon. Welcome up, Sheldon. Sheldon Scooter Dearr, the one and only.
Thanks, Sheldon.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm in the process of rallying for a really crazy Twitter Spaces coming up in 2 hours, but I do mean to not derail the space. Let me grab my headphones. What is going on with Ray these days? With Solar these days. Because, I've heard some interesting things, but I'm also considering what environmental projects look like in Cosmos for my own reasons that I'm not willing to disclose. So I'm interested in the shining light that we need to discuss. Yeah, is there a mini brief?
You betcha. I was waiting for Ray to do that, but I'll give you a mini brief, then Ray can give a bit more detailed one. So basically, what I understand happened is that a bunch of solar has been sold from Will's account, and Will is a founder of the SolarBank Capital Corp, right? But is no longer working for the Solar Corporation, but is a board member.
Can you do like a quick summary, by the way? Because I'm so out of the loop, just in case I'm not the only one.
I remember now. No, my brain is liquid because it is in all places at once. But I remember seeing this. It's like, 80% of the token supply was in control of the foundation, and they were just liquidating for allocation purposes that they claimed and not necessarily, acting ethically about a pretty, dump on the kids kind of mentality. Am I wrong? That's what I remember briefly from seeing some tweets.
So that's what we're trying to go. That's what we're gonna figure out in this space, hopefully, today.
I dig it.
Exactly. Go ahead, Stray. Oh, sorry.
Oh, just really quickly, because this is the reason I came in here, not to be a dick and derail, but I left a comment about this pretty heavy fight going on with Jaquan and AIB. I'm not asking anybody to take a position, but in 2 hours, I'm going to be running a Twitter space to discuss sort of like social boundaries in permissionless environments and some crazy stuff like that. So I did need to notify you all about that, but Ray does really, really excellent work on, sort of keeping some projects in check. I was really grateful when he initially brought up Aqua because I haven't had anywhere remotely near the time to do the kind of investigations I used to do. And this really reminded me of that. So I'm definitely happy to see Ray firing all guns for this stuff. And we knew it wasn't just Aqua, but there's always going to be some bad mixed in with the good. And what is the rest of that saying? The bad apples spoils the bunch. So happy to weed out some bad apples. I didn't mean to step on your words, though. Willonfire, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I think it's more like on this case, you need people that to dive in and look at transactions, but then you need also like the context of it and looking at what's actually happening. And I think it's, we're obviously not scamming anyone, and we're still here, and we still like answered everything, and it's just coming up more and more weird accusations, like things that we have been minting our own NFTs or creating a second wallet to mint more NFTs, which I think basically makes everyone here crooks. It's kind of getting more and more stupid. But I think addressing kind of on-chain transactions and why and that communication, I think, is important. Then we need to make a better system over time for all the DAOs, and how can they be accountable to be able to scale
That's
things.
Interesting. It's funny you say that, actually, because I do specifically use a single Ethereum wallet 99% of the time. I try to do the same thing in most ecosystems because I'm a really big believer in the permanence of blockchain and how that's an anchor for reputation. I wonder if you're talking about sort of auxiliary wallets and different practices moving back and forth as a foundation. Do you have public announcement of those addresses, or sort of I don't want to say transparency report because that's stupid and there's no standard for that. But is there anything that you feel sort of displaces some of the misunderstandings about this?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of several things. I'm sure Ray can walk through the different claims there, but one thing is kind of the sales of the Solar itself, which was done through my wallet because of both mine and the general limitation of the DAOs and how that is done. But we can have communicated better around that. It's kind of transfer the money into the DAO so you can search it, and then of course Ray claims that it's still my own money because I'm commingling my own money according to some allegations there. And then there's the NFTs, right, which we minted, and from my time in NFTs in Stargaze, which I've been part of several of these communities, right, I think most of the people who are really NFT collectors in Cosmos do have more wallets. And is another allegation there that we what you call it, went around our own limitations on 5
So I'm just gonna cut you off right there, Will, before we get too deep into the matter.
Yeah.
And you of course gonna have all the time to explain yourself and tell us what happened. I just wanna say hello to Robo for coming up as joining as co-host. Much appreciated. And then I just want to say welcome to Ray, and thank you for coming and getting up at this hour.
No worries, bud. I'm just in the background. I'll take care of any people who request or anything like that. So you just do your job and I'll do the background work. Okay, buddy?
Perfect, Robo. Perfect. Thank you for that. And good morning, Ray. Thank you for joining.
Good morning. I'm still making coffee.
Yeah, I know this is very early for you, man. That's like 6 a.m. or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we really appreciate you joining, Ray. Thank you. Thank you for that, man. So we've just been talking briefly about what is going on with the whole solar thing with Will and what Ray is posting about, and just briefly touched the beginning of it all, where Ray posts a tweet about the solar account, or Will, not the solar account, sorry, but Will selling off a lot of solar tokens, around 75K, is that right?
Yeah, it was a little bit more than 75K, but it was 75K at least.
Thanks. And then there's been some, I don't know if it's accusations, but there's been some statements around what's going on, and from both of you, and you have made some claims, Ray, or at least pointed out some data, and Will have responded on that. And yeah, I don't want to go too far into the details, but I rather want us to have an open discussions about it and just to clarify, and hopefully we can end up knowing a little more about the whole thing. Yeah, go ahead, Robo.
Bruce, could we maybe just cover some basics, very, very basics for anybody in the crowd that might be fairly new or whatever, or new listeners to the replays? Essentially, SolarBank or SolarDAO, whatever you're going to call it, has been set up through DAO. It's been tokenized through DAO. And it's been pretty much like bootstrapped via kind of DAO, right? Just to establish that's where the project's like being built, so to speak, right?
Yes, as far as I understand it, that's 100% correct.
Well, maybe we could start with Will just explaining, SolarBank and what the purpose of the token is.
Yeah, the concept. Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking about. That the base concept for the project before we go any further,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I can start there, and I think it's also been like a mix-up with an old web page where we were with the projects a couple of years ago, and we had a different token, and then we have been trying to develop it further, right, to make sure this is really a scalable system. And we started this project, and that was really why I got into blockchain initially, like in 2016, because I was running a solar energy company in Sweden, and we talked to IOTA at the time, who were selling this kind of concept that we should tokenize and do microtransactions between people who are charging their cars could pay directly to people with solar panels. So I looked into that part and kind of really thought that would solve a lot of the issues I've seen when I've been working around the world, right? I've been running more oil and gas companies and mining in Middle East and Africa and those kind of places with a lot of issues with middlemen and people not being banked, not being able to send money. It costs you $50 to send $5 to a guy in Liberia to do something. So I really kind of liked the blockchain part, and I thought, okay, let's maybe we can use it for solar, but just in general, the DeFi was what was interesting. And then I met Gjermund, and we started more Safe Place, a company that was building a wallet SDK in 2017, which pivoted into Empower, where we kind of, okay, we need a use case we can do immediately. So that's why we kind of started a plastic waste deposit system. How can we incentivize waste collection, create a better business where anyone doing kind of waste sorting? And that's kind of been the main business. So since 2018, we've been working full time on that project, both of us, and building a team there. Then the SolarBank has been kind of on the side, like it was the initial concept, and we didn't really want to leave it. We think it has some kind of really good merit. And then the first token kind of setup we wanted to do there was that you could tokenize a utility scale solar park. So if you were buying 1 panel or 1 watt peak of a solar park, and you would get kind of the revenue from that, because what was developing the parks is just big companies again, right? It's the big funds. It's not really accessible by you and me. We can buy into it later, and you end up in the normal, financial structures where you have those with more money get more money, and the rest of us have to pay more to get it in. So we want to solve that with blockchain. And the first concept of just tokenizing each park had a lot of issues, right? So the SolarBank company is building an app where anyone can buy into a specific solar park. And then they can also trade that and make that kind of share of the solar park liquid. So that's why you create this solar park token, which we initially called the solar token, because that was the concept only at the time. But we realized that is kind of hard to scale it, because you actually don't get fungible tokens. What you get is non-fungible tokens, right? You get NFTs because they need to represent that actual solar park with that yield and those solar hours and all of that. So that's still a core kind of the company. And what we realized like this last year, and just working on the tokenomics in general, is like there's actually a way we can solve some of the stable coin issues that we both need to solve in Empower to offer kind of way speakers a stable coin they actually can use, and not just digital US dollar or anything like that, but actually has a stable value and can create some yield. We figured if we take these solar park tokens and we set up an entity that can buy them just on equal terms to any other investor, you can buy into a pool of maybe 20 different solar parks. You put them into kind of an asset vault where you pack them together, and then you can, based on that, again, you tokenize that part, really the pool of solar tokens, and by that you can create a new token which is more fungible. That's just, but it's still backed by a huge portfolio of different assets that are generating yield, like from 5 to 15%, which is maybe the average solar park, especially in Sweden. Of course, this will vary a bit on legislation and jurisdiction and which country you're in, but that's kind of the starting point. And Sweden, because it's very comfortable from a regulatory and stability perspective, it just makes sense, and we know what we're doing there. So the Solar DAO was set up because we saw that okay, we can't really have the same legal entity both running the parks and having that kind of incentive to maximize profit there, and then having people buy into the watt peak, which is then kind of the fungible version of this, because this legal entity like the DAO needs to be able to go in to buy shares or parts of any solar park, not just this one. So if it's really going to scale, it needs to be a huge asset portfolio. And the larger it gets, the less the risk is. The more you diversify, right, the more you can estimate the given yield for this watt peak over time. So if you're suddenly in 200 different solar parks in 50 different countries, different payments, different yield, then the average of that will give you a really stable token. So the whole point of the SolarBankDAO is to launch this watt peak, where anyone can buy a watt peak. You will get the yield from this portfolio of solar parks, and by that you will have like a fungible token that is transactional. You will get some kind of average yield, which initially will be swinging more, but over time as it grows, it will be more and more fixed. And you will be able to then, of course, both use this for payment, but also save it, right? And it's kind of anti-inflationary in the sense that it will accrue value compared to US dollars or other fiat money, and also versus other USDCs or digital existing stable coins in Cosmos. So for us, that watt peak is kind of a unique tool that we really can use to give away speaker in Nigeria. He will get the asset. It will actually generate yield, and he can use it, and we can build up an ecosystem, DeFi ecosystem around it, which is based on real value, right? It's not the Ponzi, it's actually value creation coming into Cosmos and fueling this ecosystem that we're building. So that's the whole concept. And the DAO, I mean, it's me and Gjermund, my kind of partner and co-founder in all these projects, is we figure instead of going to a VC, an investor, and the typical route and raise money for the SolarBankDAO, which I'm sure we could. I mean, we've been raising money for a lot of stuff throughout the years, and let's do this with the DAO. I mean, I really like the DAO concept and was playing with it, as I said last time in August, and had to set it up. And we thought, okay, let's try to just bootstrap this. We're working full time. We don't have much time to do it. So when we had some time now to launch like a month ago, we said, okay, if you're going to do like an airdrop, we need to distribute more of the tokens that we have. It's fully centralized. Like we own the project, we developed it. It's kind of 100% ours. We could have gone either way, but we said, okay, let's try to grow this grassroots in Cosmos, distribute it with airdrops, get people to invest in the token so they actually get invested in the project, put some money into it. That's the best way of creating a strong community, and that's really my belief that NFTs are really a great way to build identity and community and have people actually that want to invest in your project be part of it. And of course, then in return, you give them incentives back, and you make it attractive to be part of it, so they grow as you grow. And that's how we have considered it. To be able then to give, of course, the value of a solar and the airdrop as well, we thought, okay, let's set up an LP. We get some liquidity that will help us to bootstrap. It will help give a value to this airdrop when we give it, kind of hand it out to people. So it actually becomes a value and something we can use. And then we can invest in development and get more time to really scale this and implement the technology. So I think, now that was a long start, but that's really the whole full background of the SolarBankDAO and why it is like it is and why it's set up like it is, and also why it's different websites from 2 years ago and evolution of the tokenomics and all this.
Thank you for that answer, Will. Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I think I think my issue with any of this comes from the fact that the token was sold to the public, and I think that's probably like if you had as an organization, I should just start by saying I appreciate the explanation. I really don't have an issue with the business you're doing. It may sound similar to another entity that we just have been discussing, but in general, I mean, I think the concept could potentially work. But again, my issue comes with how the token was sold, who it was sold to, who kept what, and then basically how the public was communicated with and treated in regards to the token. So I think that would be probably what I would want to discuss for the most part, if you're open to discussing that, Will.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's been like, I think Johnny Wiles, I don't know who is or didn't know, I think he's like an Osmosis developer, did some of this like initial beginning of March. He posted like the transactions, which I think was like a great thread, right? He was very objective. He was pointing out what was happening on chain and leaving some open questions on the information that was lacking, right? So we addressed a couple of these. He was also, finding that older website and having questions. I think that's all good, and definitely that when he asked those questions, it also became clear for us that we are, information that we don't think about posting or updating was needing updating. And as you say, it's we did the LP there, and then much more people streamed into it that we would believe. We looked at it like, okay, the Solar has zero value, we put it there, but at least people can get it's a distribution mechanism that will give us some value. And I also know, like I said, I posted a lot on Twitter. I think it's not that many posts on Twitter about that, but I definitely, I posted this to the community on Discord and people who DM me and say, don't buy these tokens. That it's at this point an empty DAO. We're setting up the project. Yes, we have an idea. We know what we're going to do. We believe in it. We'll invest in it, but it's not worth $80 million. It's an empty DAO. You can't go into that. I think there's a lot to be done around the communication around both LPs on Osmosis side. You should have a market cap. I mean, there's no OTC or exchange in the world that doesn't add in the total value of what they put on their, dexes or not.
Yeah. So would you say that the public offering was careless or reckless at all in the way that it was communicated?
Yeah, I think we could have communicated a lot better. And it was also surprising to us, right? And we was not expecting that kind of either the volume or the pricing. And I can show you that, and I will post it afterwards as well. I was recommended by I think there's a bunch of people from the community that's been, we thought were the community. I realize there's more people maybe who have been buying in, but from the early days there, I mean, already in February, we posted in the Discord, okay, this price and this volatility is too much. Be careful, don't do it. And then we posted something on Twitter a couple of days later. But yeah, we could have done more there. And I said that last time on this space as well, right? We probably could have done more earlier on just saying and warning about that and saying on the sales as well. We communicated that also in the Discord, and we had the prop there on the 7th or something like that. I guess you know the dates better than me, but yeah, it's
yeah. How did you determine that price? You said you announced a price. How did you determine that price?
Yeah, or no, we said that the price was too high. I mean, the first days of the LP, we kind of put in, and this is like a learning on the LP and how it works. And I think for me, it was an eye opener of how this actually works. I've been, digging into different high APR pools before, and I mean, I get a totally better understanding of it now, of course. But we tried putting in at the value where it was 20 solar to 1 Osmo or something like that, around 5 cents, right? Which, is more or less, I think, a decent price.
Yeah. So you decided the ratio of the token, and you're saying that you didn't understand that when you put in 20 of 1, or you did understand that you were setting the value to 5 cents.
Yeah. We knew that we were putting around, I guess Osmosis went from $1 to lower, so a bit lower than that. But then we added more volume. But then we also got comments from people, oh, you shouldn't add liquidity to it. You need to let that be a part of it. So, I mean, it's, if you call it reckless or not, at least totally agree that we were expecting it to come $15,000, $25,000 into that liquidity. And it went up to, I think, almost $800,000 at the highest, with a ridiculous valuation to it. And we definitely, anyone who talked to us or asked about it, we said, don't buy it at all. The rewards are great. So if you're looking into this long term to just get the rewards, add it in, because we are going to incentivize to grow the community. But it's, we're not going to, I mean, if we were scamming, if I was doing it to get quick money, we could have dumped, I had enough solar to dump this when the value was 700,000-800,000. I can go away and leave, right? So that was not the purpose. Instead, you're talking about selling this, both me and German, the other kind of core team here, is have more solar tokens now than we had the last time. So even if we have been selling some, it's not like we've been dumping this. And we were looking at the liquidity as well and not selling more than a few percent. So this was stable, and we got money in to keep developing and doing stuff. I figured that this really is a value equity for the DAO. And of course, for some people just chasing the APR, it will. I think they know what they're doing as well. They're not going to stick around regardless. They're in there to get the APR, and you see that as well. As soon as they unbound now, they just dump and put it into Fox on June or whatever it is. That's the next thing, and yeah, that's super interesting. So that's definitely it.
Apes are going to ape, of course. I mean, that makes sense. I just want to touch on something you said. You said this in a tweet, I think, and then you just said it now as well, where you say you have more tokens now than before. Like, how do you have more tokens now than you did before?
Yeah, because we put into the LPs, right, and we also bought NFTs. So we are also getting the rewards and the airdrops from that. So even if we sell some, we're still getting more than we had initially. Okay,
so you're staking in the LPs and claiming the rewards for your token.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to bring up too, and I mean,
Ray,
yeah, go ahead.
Just quick before, because I know how deep you can go. I just want to ask Sheldon, what do you want to say?
I'll make it quick. I have two questions, because you do know the number of token supply when you issue a token, and I totally can appreciate the concept of looking for an appealing token price. This market is rife with unit bias, et cetera, et cetera. As a pre-question to setting up the 5 cents, did you mention that you were tokenizing this earlier? You said that you were talking to IOTA about this. Did you do a sort of like more structured, traditional, what's the word? It's falling out of my brain now. Value analysis. Did someone do a scoping on what they believe the value of your business model and structure was? Because I think it's very interesting to, look at a project and say, hey, I would like to issue the token at 5 cents, and then do that successfully. Many people have failed to do that.
Yeah, I mean, no, we didn't do anything with IOTA, of course, since their technology didn't work.
No, I'm asking about valuation. Did you do a valuation when you were considering them? Did you evaluate the structure of this concept? Because this is the same concept, effectively, yeah?
Yeah, this is I would say, like a completely different kind of, what we talked about then was the SolarBank tokens, like in the corporation. So that has had valuation. We raised money. We raised a few $100,000 into that corporation, which is then building the SolarBank. So that had the valuation, and all of that is definitely done. Like the Whatpig is and the SolarBankDAO is a new project, right? But I've been starting companies all since I left law school, right?
Yeah, that's cool. I've been an engineer for 20 years, and I'm 30 years old. So yeah, it's totally fine. We all have lots of really rich experiences. So I just want to keep this short, because I do have to hop off as well. Sorry to cut you off. You mentioned that you are staking into your own LP, and that you do really like what you've been able to achieve through DAO. Are you looking at contributing back to DAO in some form or fashion, because you are sort of benefiting from eating your own lunch at the moment? Because we'd like some lunch too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we had some proposals into how we can do, and I think like the issues here, the structural issues that we're talking about, should really be handled. I don't think like the vigilante going out and claiming stuff without having the contest is the right way, but still we need to get the rugs out of the whole DAO system. So I think like if you look at how this is solved in the real world, right, it's more like certifications. You have some where people or companies can opt in to something. I think if we set up a kind of an audit or something like that DAO, where the projects that are launching, they can dox themselves, they can put in the tokenomics and have a vetting, and they can be approved by that DAO, where they themselves and other can be members. I think that would like eliminate. Then if you invest in a DAO that's not been part of that, they haven't been checked, and you take that risk. You ape in for
Sure, and I'm a compliance officer, and you're stating that your product was previously positioned to entities, not to individuals. So I'm just laying that out and being clear about it. But I do want a straight answer to my question about rewarding DAO, because you did take a pretty significant benefit from interfacing with DAO and using their tools. DAO is a growing organization. Can we count on you to support DAO to help more interesting projects like you come online?
Yeah, definitely. We're just like I'm saying, we're contributing a lot. I think Gjermund is one of the most active developers, helping out on a lot of projects already.
I'm talking about the LP, sir. Sir, I'm talking about the LP. You're making money off your own LP. You're making money off your LP. That's specifically what I'm asking about, because you got a great benefit from the DAO community. Yes, speculators are going to speculate, but it's not necessarily common to have a wildly successful launch and then get to eat your own lunch successfully in a massive way without ending up breaking off technical partners or supporting them in some way that is not just, hey, we write code. I understand the code is law, but Cosmos relationships are financial relationships.
If I break you off again, but you're asking if we can support the DAO, and I said yes. So that's a pretty clear answer, I think.
Fair enough.
happy to do that, of course. I mean, it's
Right.
a great tool, and I think
Yes.
it can be developed further. I'm happy to do what we can. Yeah.
Thank you. Ray, I appreciate letting me interrupt. Thank you so much. I have to hop in a little bit, but I do want to stick around for this. So yeah, Ray, please, I've interrupted you as gracefully as I could, but my grace is over now. Please.
No, do it. I've got my screen down, so I'm not seeing the hands raised. So just interrupt me if I'm on a tangent. I'm writing notes and stuff.
But thank you
so
so much, Sheldon, for that, man. Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
No, so I wanted to get back to. I agree with Sheldon's point, and that I was kind of asking that question a little bit as well. But excellent articulation. I think it was it Jeremy that you said posted that Twitter thread back in March? Was that in like March 7th or March 13th or something? It was about a month ago, right? Where he kind of outlined what was going on with solar and on chain, and you said he was fairly objective in that.
Johnny Wiles, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Wiles.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned in this conversation we've had here is that he had also mentioned that the website was out of date, or there was something out of date with the website.
Yeah, exactly.
And so
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and so you had some time to take down the information that was old before I started asking any questions about it or change it. I think the other, like, this just gets into what my issue is selling this to the public. Because if you're selling it to the public with information that's not relevant, and now you've had two different groups, if you want to call myself a group, you have two different individuals pointing out that this information is questionable or it doesn't make sense or whatever, and you're saying, hey, this is out of date. But at some point, if you go to the SolarBank token page, the SolarBank capital page, at some point since the creation of the Osmosis liquidity pool, someone updated the SolarBank page to point people to go buy the token in that liquidity pool, correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure when that was updated as well. But
it had to be updated since the pool was created. And this pool is, 6 weeks old?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So I think what we did when we got the questions was that we set up the DAO page, which is separate from the corporate page. So it's a separate website for the DAO, right, which handles that part. And then we also put out the Medium article about the DAO and how that relationship is, and answering to those questions from Wiles as well. So we did that in addition to starting writing the white paper and showing more the relationships between this. So, I mean, yeah, I'm sure we could have done more, but we actually did what we had the possibility.
But that's not
that.
my question. My question is, somebody specifically went in and modified the website that has all the inaccurate information, but didn't remove the inaccurate information, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can ask this again about Jeremy, but he went in and updated with what he found at the time, right? Late night, he just tried to fix stuff. So, you oversee things. It's not intentional, and you can try this to bring that anyway if you want, but it's not the case, right?
No, I'm gonna keep hammering on this just a little bit if you'll allow me.
Ray, one second, Ray. In my own mind, can I just establish, Will, exactly what was said there? So and I didn't know about this, but there was incorrect information on the website regarding the project, but someone's went in after the pool creation, has put a link in or whatever to divert people to that pool to be able to buy the token, but hasn't updated any information that was obviously invalid or incorrect on the website at the time. They've jumped on this incorrect information, nothing's been amended, but the link's been put up to I mean, that's not a good look, Will. Is there anything you can add to this story that might help us?
Yeah, I'm sure. Jeremy did the update, and I haven't looked. I didn't do it, but I'm pretty sure he has become a very good explanation for that. And he updated probably the information he saw. I'm not sure which page that is the wrong information, but the capital page.
Well, you're the one saying the information is wrong. So what page has the wrong information?
Yeah, but the SolarBank Capital is a different entity, right? So that's not the same one.
So why is the SolarBank Capital selling a token they have nothing to do with?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. You have to ask Jeremy why that text is still there and how that is. I think it's he missed it, or it's something else that's happened there. So it's nothing other than that.
I think that's really important. I mean, maybe he can join in if you can message him to clarify that, because I think I don't understand why a company who says in the website in the frequently asked questions that they don't hold any of this token, but they're selling the token, and they spend over half the website selling this token.
But now I'm looking at the website you're citing right now, right? Which is updated, where it specifically says that this Solar token now is under SolarBankDAO, and it shows you to that page on the DAO.
Yeah, but go read the white paper. Like, there's only 3 pages on the website.
Yeah, but
go to the bottom of the.
That's not the white paper either, right? That's the white paper for the Solar Bank Corporation, as I mentioned, the Solar Park tokens. So the white paper, as I said, you can get that, and it's in the Discord, and it's was released like last week, 2 days before you started writing this.
Again, I just, so you don't have an answer as to why SolarBank Capital. So SolarBank Capital is owned by Gerald. How do you say his name? Sorry.
No, it's not owned by him. It's a separate limited liability company who's building the solar park in Sweden. So that's the SolarBank Capital. Yeah.
And you sit on the board of that, right?
Ray, just do us a favor, dude. And I know it's bad for us, but like when Will speaks, you'll have to put yourself on mute, Ray, because I don't know, we can't hear him until you like mute yourself. It's kind of weird. Bruce, did you catch some of that feedback there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a new feature in Twitter Spaces where it tried to mute all the microphones when microphones are unmuted. But yeah, go ahead.
Ray brings up a very good point. That is concerning that, a website wasn't updated, but a link was put up to divert people to be able to buy the token. That is a little bit of a stickler. Hopefully we can overcome this. What were the other bones of contention, Ray, other than the website and the redirection to buy the token?
So there's no clear message on who is SolarDAO Capital, and that's fine. They're a private company. But Will here is the founder. I think he's declared, or he was the founder. He is the founder. I think you're always the founder once you're the founder. And then he's also on the board. And there's no declaration that, it seems like a conflict of interest, right? That the board member holds the largest supply of this token, and you're using this company to funnel people to purchase more of the token.
It isn't a beautiful look at just first glance, but Will, can you clarify on this before we go to Sheldon?
Yeah, this is all explained already. Was the introduction, right? It's a company we set up, and then we started the DAO to do the what peak. So it has to do with the splitting of the legal entities and developing the projects. We're definitely the founders and developers of the whole concept. So it's of course we could have given away all the project to Ray or someone else initially when we were launching Cosmos and drop it and sell all the tokens and let someone else do it. But that doesn't work. You can't develop and start an idea and not be working on it, not having control of what the choices you do. You end up in a lot of governance issues and stuff. So we've been clear on that from day one, right? That we are controlling this DAO now, and the goal is to over time distribute it, to incentivize the community, to grow that community, make sure they also profit from it. And that's the facts. It sounds like you never run any kind of business or anything like all. It's kind of, how would you do and start a company or any project without starting with the ownership to it? It doesn't make any sense to me.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second, because I've been studying corruption since I was 8 years old, and I'm very familiar with how the Clinton Foundation, the Gates Foundation, the agency that Tony Fauci used. I'm not trying to make this politically colored in any way, shape, or form, especially because I grew up Democrat, hilarious. But the idea that the segmentation between two legal entities dissolves you of responsibility of ownership when you own both of those entities in one way, shape, or form, even as a partial owner, that is not really compatible with a culture of Cosmos. That's not really considered ethical by many people for many reasons. Do you have anything else besides at the bottom of this funnel to say that there is legal segmentation between these two entities? That's kind of dry.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And that's kind of the purpose of them, to split them up as well, right? And it's not any ownership in between them now, but I have shares in both. So that's kind of it, as you say. So, I agree, and
okay.
It needs to be totally separated, and that's how that's the plan to do it.
So I'm not going to be able to keep talking because I have to work and jump off a little bit. I'm going to drop down to listening mode. I appreciate you communicating about this stuff, Will. At the same time, I implore you, if you do want to not just treat your community like exit liquidity, as you described that you don't want to do, then you need to take on some more genuinely and directly and verifiably altruistic motives that are not really being displayed at the moment, because I understand that for-profit businesses are for-profit businesses. I've worked in the Fortune 500 for a decade. I know a lot of weird, stupid things about for-profit businesses, but also entities that are not quite the same type of ownership, i.e., public permissionless shares, have different types of responsibility to the general public to who they make that asset available. It's the whole reason the SEC is a crazy imperialist organization that enforces its will on other countries needlessly, ridiculously. So instead of inviting that sort of enforcement and that question about compliance and how this asset functions, I would implore you to restore your ethic in the way that you say that you want to by making some commitment about how you're going to contribute back to DAO so that DAO as an ecosystem and an entity can continue to provide value for entities such as yourself in a way that is sensible and is not compartmentalized under legal entities. I yield.
Thank you, Sheldon, for your time, man. Thank you. Sheldon in an hour, he got a very, very important space about AIB and J. But nonetheless, go ahead, Will.
Yeah, I mean, not much to add to that. I'm agreeing on that part. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. On you,
Thank you, Will.
I really appreciate Sheldon and Will for humoring us. I don't think you're like a malicious person in this sense, or that this is a scam in the direct rug pull sense. I think it's more of a question of transparency, or I think you owe the people you're selling the token to some better, like more fully fleshed out communication about the intention of the token, the distribution of the token, and just how it's utilized. One thing I want to ask you to clarify is you mentioned on the page, on the SolarDAO Capital page, you pointed out where that liquidity pool is. Do you also see on that page where it says what the purpose, and in the DAO summary for the SolarBankDAO, what it says the purpose of the DAO is? Does it say there that its purpose is to buy back solar tokens? I don't see anywhere in either of those pages where its purpose is to sell solar tokens.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the purpose is not to sell solar tokens either. And this, again, like, I think this page, as I said, is the solar tokens here are really the SolarBank tokens that we're talking about, which will be the basis and not the DAO tokens itself. So it's a mix. And I can't say more than sorry for that being not better updated. It's the website that was there a couple of years ago, and I was updated, but it's not properly updated. And that's on us, of course. I totally agree on that.
Right. And that primarily is the issue that I have with this, is that the information that was presented to people when they were buying the token, or when they were being sold the token, or incentivized to purchase the token, because you did incentivize the liquidity pools for a token that you were supposedly urging people not to purchase. When that was happening, the information was not accurate.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and that was the reason why we put up the SolarBankDAO page, right? And focus on building that and adding the right info there. But yeah, it's and no issue seeing the confusion, as you say. If people went into the other page, it doesn't look like the same thing. So, yeah.
Well, it's the same logo, right? I mean, you're sharing the branding across the DAO and across this corporation that are supposedly two different legal entities with no relationship with each other.
No, it's obviously a relationship, right? So that's, I'm not saying that, I'm saying that you're right, that it has different information about the token and the pool.
Yeah, I guess I don't need to, like I had said to people before we had this conversation, I don't need to beat this dead horse kind of thing. I think I've made my points. One thing that's not really clarified either is how the distribution was done, because the distribution that was published on March 3rd, was it? For the tokenomics distribution doesn't match the tokenomic distribution that actually occurred.
Yeah. No, I mean, the distribution on chain is the correct one. So no one is, as you say, what do you think?
So what were those 5 wallets that you funded with initial seed money that received 800,000 tokens of Solar each? What were those wallets for?
Yeah, it's for other people that we are around the team. So that's it. I mean, some of them are doxstating already and been part of it, and that's it. We distributed those in August, and as you say, it was like 16% to Yerman and I, not 15, which I put in that first tweet in, I think, end of February or 1st of March. So yeah, nothing. I mean, that was something wrong by us, right? And putting the wrong number there, and I went too fast on my end. But we're not. I'm not like what you say. Disagreeing on the one thing there. I'm disagreeing on the other thing that you're gonna prove kind of by on-chain data that I had 16%, because that's not true, right? And we're talking about the team allocation there, and that's the facts are still the facts, even if the transaction there or the Genesis had another one.
Yeah. So who are these other team members? I mean, that wasn't communicated. If you look back at your tweet, they're not. It's not mentioned that there's 5 other team members that are going to get, 0.8% of the share. That's more than 15%. So you're saying there are 5 other team members. You just said that, and then you add in the 16%. No.
I think like the core team is me and Yerman, who have 16%.
So how do you account in your tokenomics distribution information for 5 other wallets that receive 0.8%? That's not in there at all.
Yeah, it's part of the rest of the percent. If it's 100%, they are in there, right?
Where is it in the? You can show me in the percentage. It's not very much. It was NFTs. It was incentives. It was the team was 15%, and then it was 74% to the DAO.
Yeah, and those are other kind of people and contributors to it. So that's just how
but they don't.
It's not a team.
They don't go under team.
No, it's not the core team. One guy was in the team who left in December, which also was an issue, right? And he shouldn't have had the tokens, and we should, of course, have a vesting or something like that. But we didn't have it.
Yeah, I just mean, like, we can go through it step by step, but those numbers aren't in there. There's no communication. Nothing I've seen other than this conversation we're having right now, and maybe something you posted on Twitter since I asked, that these other wallets were distributed to team members. But you're saying they're team members or contributors, but they're not accounted for in the token. Because it's really...
Yeah.
So I think, like, I don't want to just keep beating this horse, but this is the general theme of the way you've been, this entity has been communicating to people, which has been fairly loose. Maybe just completely, I would say it's incomplete for sure.
I would say it's benign. I would say, Ray, their communication's been a little bit benign, and I say this because I look at Will as a friend that I've known for quite a while, and we've had spaces together, and I do see like the great work that they've done over at Empower, right? But it is real. It's benign, the communication and the kind of a bit of a like laissez-faire attitude, like towards like what we've kind of seen. There hasn't been any kind of like a redemption arc or anything. I don't know. I might be wrong on that, Bruce.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of reacted a bit when Will said facts are facts, right before, because there's been a lot of, I don't want to say misinformation, but in lack of a better word, I would use it. There's been a lot of misinformation surrounding this project and wrong data on the sites and all this stuff. So,
well, here's a good one. What did Ray think about the Medium article? Before we go any further, Ray, you've obviously read the Medium, the explanation, yeah? What were your takeaways from the article?
That it didn't really address the things I brought up, and it misconstrued with intention to like devalue the questions that I had. I didn't say you ran off with $75,000. I said you sold $75,000 worth of token. It's 2 very different things.
Yeah, but I think like the general, like I know that's what, or maybe that's what you said, and maybe that's what you mean. But the obvious, when you post something like that on Twitter and you're doxing me and putting my name and saying I sold $75,000, and at the point that some of this has been put into the DAO as well and was on behalf of the DAO, people are not going to go in and dig in. Even if you do your own research, they will look at what you've written and they will send you messages. Oh, you took $75,000, or or Bruce will say, oh, I would use that for buying a vacation or strengthening my bags, and that's how it works. So it's a bit yeah.
So you were personally offended.
But no, I'm just saying I get a lot of shit because you're not like being precise enough on it, and it's just the only thing there. I mean, it's you can do this in a better way, I think. But it's
Will, wait a minute, Ray. Will outline this for me, because this is really important for Ray moving forward. What did he not outline clearly? Where do you think Ray might have like made some errors as a judgment?
No, I could have asked about those things, right? And it was already in the proposal in the DAO, which he also confirmed, and that was also like a payment before this into the DAO from my wallet again. So it's just like adding more of the full story, not just putting a tweet that I think everyone is just seeing those tweets are sending a message, oh, this is all a scam and things like that. And it's not, but as you say, like we haven't been doing everything perfect and we can do better.
Okay, I mean, Ray, one thing just one thing I did want to say on this is that you've just been through this, Ray, with Aqua. And he's had to go through, like he didn't want to do it, but he did do it, etc., etc. So, Willie's coming on the back of like a 6-week investigation that's like taking a lot of time. There's a lot of like sus behavior. I mean, we talk about like verify, don't trust. Ray, this is a classic example, isn't it? It's like if we just trust every project, well, you don't know what's going on in the background, Ray, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is if you've run, like, I'll just say this in the scope of this, if you've run companies and you've started a bunch of companies, I think you should have the common sense at this point to know this isn't how you operate, right? This should be way more structured. And I think if it was just way more structured, this wouldn't be an issue. And I would look into it and go, oh, the tokenomics match. Oh, there's a bunch of sales, but here's the thing with the DAO. And I'll talk about that DAO proposal too. But that's my general sense. Yeah, I probably, I'll say from my perspective, because of the quality of the tools we have or the lack of quality of the tools that we have, and because a person who's selling the token is also using this wallet for their own personal activity, it starts to get pretty complicated to trace specifically which token went where, because they're selling personal tokens, they're selling apparently DAO tokens, but they're doing it all from the same wallet, according to them. So it becomes a little bit muddy. And I don't think that's my fault. And I definitely didn't say you sold it out, because I couldn't trace $75,000 back out of the wallet, because there's some of it went to the DAO, some of it didn't go to the DAO.
Oh, that's true. No, I agree. And like the goal is here, like updating to the sub DAOs, and hopefully I think we'll be able to do all the business of the DAO within the wallets. I mean, we couldn't do that now, or at least I'm not technical enough to do that. And yeah, we are moving this all into the sub DAO and wallets, and hopefully all the business of a DAO in the future will be able to be done within that, right? With the full transparency and the full accounting and all of that. And I think that's really, the goal we should work towards. And when it comes to the sloppiness, like explaining this as well, which might be maybe harder, but we are working full time in Empower, right? And that's where we are employed. This has been like a side project without any funding. We haven't raised anything for it. So this is really something like we need to actually do something now to get this kickstarted, to start this project, to get funding in, to start developing, so we actually can put people on to do this. And as you would do in a company, right? Put all the structure in place, having all of this. So it's really been on late nights this month, and updating in the evening the website and writing that Medium post during the day, and in the couch chair in Easter and those kind of things. So that's the explanation. Of course, it doesn't excuse that we should have done it more properly or better, because but yeah, for us this is like a super early phase of a project where you started, and it's usually like that in any kind of startup. It's a bit hands over heads and things like that in the beginning. You do what you need to do to get forward and move it, and that's what we've been doing. And of course, as you say, putting that into an LP on Osmosis and Frontier, and we haven't reached all that we thought we reached. We have tried to be like super clear with anyone who's been talking to us and the community that we knew were interested, which I think a lot of those guys are here, and being as transparent as we can. But it's we can't undo or improve other stuff there. So, but I think that's just what we need to learn from this, of course. So yeah, Robo.
So, Will, on that point, very, very quickly, this is a question for Ray. Ray, we do know, we have the evidence that Aqua acted maliciously in what they did. They also acted very stupidly in the lack of security for the DAO, which is how they got exposed. Ray, am I right in thinking that this is a different case? That there's maybe questionable behaviour, but no malicious intent, Ray? Can you clarify that for me? What's your opinion, Ray?
I try to specifically not imply intent and try to keep things into as objective as I can. And I know it gets complicated and difficult, especially when, we have conversations with you and German and it is not really taken seriously, or it's, go read the docs, we're doing everything. And it's not just addressed like in a serious manner. So I think, of course, it's something different. Every one of these cases is different. I definitely think it's a lack. I think there's a lack of respect for the process in terms of being professional about it. I don't think it's fair to say that they didn't raise any money, because the LP itself was raising money. They sold the LP, so that is, and they sold it out for another token, right? They sold Solar. That is raising money.
Let me rephrase this for you, Ray. Let me rephrase this. With Aqua, we know people lost money. With Solar, have people lost money? Have retail lost money? Yes or no?
Yes. I mean, look at the token price. It's below when it was listed.
Okay. Will?
Yeah, I mean, it's several different things there. Like, and one is you're saying the professionality again, right? And how do you handle these questions that you're just putting up and getting like a mob going and having Jacob a little bit putting in Forbes and pictures of Sam Bankman-Fried? How are we going to communicate on Twitter properly and address your concerns? If you were a professional, you would also reach out to us to get clarification of those issues, right? And not.
But you're not giving me clarification.
You could probably do both. Sorry? Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. And where was the other question? Sorry, I don't know.
I mean, you're the only person that can hold yourself to whatever standard you want. That is the thing with crypto to some degree. So, I mean, I can't really do anything other than point things out.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, that's what we've been saying as well. But then again, if we don't, we've been trying to answer you, and you don't take it into consideration either, right? Like when you said I have 16%, and we add in the proof of that, and you still claim that online data proves something else. And it's possible to have a better discussion on this for sure than having it on Twitter. And having this kind of AMAS, I think, is a good thing as well, right? You can talk things through and discuss the missing pieces. So I think it's more like getting a better dialogue all over Cosmos is needed. And as you say, find out what projects are actually rugs or scamming and what are trying but not perfect, which is obviously the case. But there's a big difference between the two, I think. Yeah, different way of handling that, of course.
And we really appreciate your time and coming on here, Will. And I just want to ask Ray, do you feel that you're getting the clarification you need from this AMA, this space?
Not really. I was just going to say that I don't feel satisfied by the conversation. I feel like is there anything that
Ray, in what manner do you not feel satisfied? What's lacking for you? Because that's important for us.
I don't think that there's any, like, just talking and having the conversation. I mean, has anything I said been factually untrue? And I've been going through this conversation for weeks now, and the acknowledgement of like what actually is going on at Solar has still, like, it's just like they're not taking this seriously. Like we'll go through this, we'll have the conversation, and then we'll go back to doing what we're doing. Because you've had a month to update the website, and you didn't take it down, and you didn't take Wiley's concerns about it seriously. And then I brought it up a week ago, and you didn't take that seriously, and you're still selling the token on there.
No, but we did, like when the Wilds did it, we did put up the DAO page and we did put up the Medium. When we raised the questions, we addressed that and wrote the Medium page to try to answer all of it. So, I mean, we have been trying to and do this the best way.
But why don't you take the information down? It's inaccurate.
Yeah, definitely. We can take the Solar Cap website down. And of course, maybe we should have done that immediately. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that. But we have been taking the situation, seriously and trying to address all your questions as well. And there's also a lot of claims you've been doing like that are about minting own NFTs and getting airdrops and stuff like that, which is, again, like every NFT project, if the ones launching them are not minting or not buying or not selling their own NFTs, would you really invest in it? Like if none of the Raccoon guys would invest or have an NFT, it would be very strange. And if it's illegal having like a benefit to having that NFT, it's even weird, right? You have also like those kind of accusations which are way off charge. You can focus. But what I agree on is the topics we have had here, right? Which is more the communication part and lacking information on update the tokens and removing that page would have made everything easier. So I totally agree on those points. And then you keep adding on more and more unreasonable stuff as well, right? Which doesn't make sense. So it's a bit, you're saying we should be professional, but it should be on both sides. And then we can meet in the middle and definitely walk through all the data and do all of that. And that's what we're really happy to do. But it needs to be like also a balanced stuff, right? And fair enough.
Well, you just brought up a point. You said I've made unreasonable things. Could you give me an example of something unreasonable that I've said?
Yeah, exactly. Regarding NFTs, you said that if we circumvented the minting of NFTs by minting more than 5 NFTs.
Yeah. So why did you have a cap per wallet if you weren't going to respect it as your own team?
Because this is like we mentioned this additionally, maybe that was before you came on, right? I think like everyone doing NFT transactions have more than one wallet, and the cap was not set intentionally. This was like a hack or what you call a bug on the Stargaze. So the goal was to have like 10 NFTs in the whitelist and 10 more in the public sale, but we didn't manage to change that or update it. So I said to the guys also in the Discord that, okay, set up another wallet and you can mint more in that. So that was the issue, but you're posting it on Twitter like it's a scam, right? And I think maybe not all then, as I think the guy who was here before said he did only have one wallet and never minted with more than wallet, but I'm pretty sure there are more people here, like in our Discord where we have the Solar Discord, like I think it was like 5-6 people having between 20 to 50 NFTs. And they didn't do that with one NFT. It's not bad, it's not wrong. It's just how it is. You keep a cap on this as well, right? Because if you don't have a cap, one person can go in and mint 500 immediately and no one will get it. But if you have a cap, at least you limit that and you get the distribution, which is fair. It's nothing to do with like scamming or anything like that. So that's just like a ridiculous, talking about knowing things about Cosmos and how things work. I think that's just, it discredits the real good points that you have right on the data and information.
Okay, so you haven't been claiming the rewards on all of those NFTs and selling those?
Yeah, of course. Again, right, this is the same thing with Raccoon. If they sell an NFT and they buy it themselves with their own money, they also get the rewards. If someone goes in and plays on Raccoon Bet and they get reward, they are able to sell it even if they own the project and the money they play with goes to their own DAO. It's the same thing here. If we launch an NFT, we're not getting any free NFTs or anything like that, but I bought it just like anyone else in the market, fully open on that and on minting, and it's like their gift. If someone is not want to mint the NFTs, I can definitely do that. It's on Stargaze. It's a marketplace. So that's no hiding in that. It's not. I don't see it any wrong. I can't see any NFT project where none of the people have been buying it and not getting the benefits. If this is like Hua punks getting Tori airdrops, I don't know if people from AIA probably bought into those and got the Tori airdrop. Are they gaming it? Or if the raccoons that have a raccoon NFT are getting now an airdrop of some other stuff, are they gaming it then or scamming people? It's not like that.
We're just talking about solar.
Yeah, but I'm saying you're calling something.
These are meme things, and you guys you're trying to build a decentralized SolarBank infrastructure. Like you talk, I think there's some conflicting things here, or at least some multiple avenues in terms of, you say you're trying to decentralize and get the token out there, but then you're taking the NFTs which distribute the token and claiming the airdrops and selling the stuff for yourself.
Yeah, because this again, you're not then following properly on the NFT side. I think I'm not sure if you knew the airdrop was related to the NFTs initially. It didn't seem like on the first tweets you did. Like maybe you can shine some light on that. But the NFTs and the full mint goes to setting up the first solar parks. So of course, it's in our interest to get this minted out as soon as possible, so we get started on building that. Definitely, I mean this, and again, like this is what happens on Passage, where you have the Meta Hua. They want to mint that out as soon as possible, so get started development. It's always in the interest of the team to get that in place and done, so you can start on the work. It's just like what happens everywhere, and it's not suspicious, or maybe it is suspicious, but I don't think it's an issue for anyone. It's just how it's done in every project, and I don't think that's really fair to call that something else. Sure,
I guess we can agree to disagree, or say that your intention with it is not the same intention that I'm getting from it. Okay, that's good. So one thing I do want to talk about, though, and then if there's people have questions or whatever, is when you brought up this, you sold, you had the DAO proposal, I think it was A3 or A7, where the DAO, which is you and German, right, approved to sell 50,000 solar, and that was passed on like March 6th. And then you sold the solar, like you said, and then it went back to the DAO, and that happened on March 17th. But that proposal wasn't approved until April 1st. So you see where part of my issue comes in is like, whose funds did you use? The DAO funds that you were allocated through the DAO proposal were not issued to you until almost 2 weeks after you sold and redeposited tokens. And so that to me feels like a lack of like respect for the process to some degree.
Yeah, no, I mean, and that's okay. I mean, it's like a two-person DAO, so I said like, okay, I'll sell the tokens I have already and hold, and then we just do that back again once the passes. I mean, it was already it was passed in the voting, so okay, and let's do it like that. I think, it was just the simplest way. We had set like a 14-day proposal period, which is not, of course, efficient when you want to be operational, and we still haven't set up the sub-DAOs to handle that. We have started setting up a couple of those, so you can actually do those.
Wait a minute, Will. Wait a minute. This seems like an excuse that you sidestep governance. Can I just clarify on the dates there? So you guys have obviously got re-vote and re-enabled, so you weren't able to execute. Obviously, you didn't set your DAO up properly, and you've got like this ridiculously long like proposal period for some reason. It wasn't executed. Ray, what were the dates that you said there? There was a prop put up, then there was wallet action, and then the prop passed. Is that what you said, Ray? Can I clarify that, please?
The prop passed, and so the prop was put up on the 3rd or the 6th of March to sell 50,000, to send 50,000 solar tokens to Will's wallet, and then during this entire time, before the prop was proposed and after it, there was this constant sale of solar from Will's wallet. And then on the 7th, and when I say constant, I mean daily. And then on the 17th, that wallet was, those funds were swapped back for Axelar USDC to some degree, and Juno as well during that process. And then those funds were put back in the DAO. I think there were multiple transactions, but I don't remember. But on the 17th, I think, or the 16th of March was when the USDC went back in. But the proposal to distribute the 50,000 solar to Will's wallet from the DAO was not executed until April 1st.
Yeah, right. Well, that's a big problem. Yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah. So I sold my own NFTs because we put in we agree that, okay, let's sell this amount of tokens to fund the development. And then since it takes, as you say, 14 days or more to release the tokens, we said, okay, I'll sell my own tokens and I transfer that into the DAO. But we still document everything with the proposal system. So that's really what we did. And it can be interpreted in that way, of course, but that's really the reason to do those at all, was to document it and make sure we had the process and put in the date of the transactions afterwards, so it's there. And it's really like an attempt to add transparency more than anything else. But it's...
so you would say that if it isn't documented in the DAO proposals, then it was a personal transaction? Is that what you're going to say now? So any sales of solar outside of the solar that was approved by the DAO, those were personal sales?
No, so if it's not mentioned in there, it should be personal sales, or it needs to be put into the DAO, of course, if it has to do with the DAO tokens. But as I said, like we're also paused now because we're updating to SubDAO 2, which takes 14 days with the limitations we said. So the tooling is not perfect yet for what we want to do, of course. And as you say, it's not set up well enough to DAO to handle everything that's happened. But yeah, we're adding the information in there to add in transparency and data, so you can go through it afterwards and check it as well, and combine that with online data or on-chain data. So that's really the purpose of it.
Yeah, I guess I don't have a lot more to say unless there's other things that people want to ask questions or talk about. I think the commingling of funds into personal wallets and spending stuff before the funds have been received from the DAO, it just muddies this whole thing. And I know that you're saying that this could be set up better.
Yeah, it's illegal depending on the entity. So this is what a lot of people don't understand. I've been talking about this for weeks, about the difference with like LLP versus like an LLC. I mean, the corporate structure is like another thing to look at. But like, bro, commingling at any degree with any like registered entity is a fucking no-no. That's you just don't do it unless it's an LLP. Then you can commingle funds. If it's any other corporate structure, you cannot. A limited liability partnership is allowed to commingle. Well, not commingle like user funds, but you're allowed to have your personal funds as part of the business funds, essentially. Whereas an LLC, everything must be very, very separate, right?
Well, it's a mess for accounting.
It's an issue. That's an issue. That's a big issue, Will, yeah. One you guys need to sort out internally, I would think, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And this is like, again, right, the transactions are on chain. We posted afterwards all the transactions there up to date on what has been done and what was the DAO tokens and what is getting back and things like that. But yeah, I agree. And we are setting it up with just DAO wallets. So yeah, it shouldn't be an issue going forward. But of course, I understand that it's harder to find out and check everything when it's in the same tokens are the same wallet. So yeah, it's not much to say about that. And yeah, it would have been better to have a separate wallet for it, of course.
So I just sorry guys. I just want to clarify one thing before I say hello to Tank. You said, well, you came from a corporate background, right? In oil and banking, the team. Or did I mishear that?
No, I'm just been running those kind of companies. Yeah, that's true. It's all startups or scale-ups or things like that, but still, yeah.
Okay, thank you, man. Hey, Tank.
What's up? Just quietly listening, guys. I hope you guys are all doing well.
Go ahead, man. Just listen and Voyager like you do. Robo, Ray, I cut both of you off before, man.
No, that's all right. I would like to know, and this is really important, and you know, let's say that we appreciate Will coming up here. If you come in the fucking RAC den, you know, you're going to get the right questions, but like, you know, you're going to get a fair hearing, and, you know, we're all here to try and improve the industry. Right, Ray, very quickly, give me 3 steps, Ray. Outline how moving forward, SolarBank can have a secure future. If you were in that situation, Ray, what would be the first 3 steps you would take to get back credibility, to secure the future for that organization?
Well, I'd say, you know, I appreciate Will coming on here and having these conversations. I know that things can get a little loose in crypto because it's just easy to move funds around and set up wallets and everything else. My encouragement would be that they use wallets for operational activity that are separate of their personal wallets. I think the other thing to do is, if you're actually going to run a professional organization that's going to provide revenue back to the solar holders, which I believe is what the intention is here, and feel free to clarify that there's an actual like structure defined, set up, the payment schedules, you know, all the basic things you would do if you were doing a business plan. Like, there should be a business plan for SolarDAO, if SolarDAO is actually some sort of collective or cooperative. But I know that you've also said that it's a for-profit and you know, for the solar holders, which are essentially, you know, just 2 people right now, or a couple more, obviously 60, I think, in total. But that would be my opinion. Is stop commingling stuff, and that would provide a lot of transparency, and then actually do basic, corporate structure and explanations. If you're taking a public sale, which and you're selling the tokens to the public, so they need to be informed. They should be informed.
Yeah, I mean it's good advice, and totally agree on that. Of course, it makes sense.
One more thing, to delete the information that's no longer relevant from the internet.
Yeah, definitely. We haven't posted the white paper. We put it in our Discord for review like a week ago, which is then of course showing a bit the structures on how the money flows of the actual solar versus the watt peak as a stable coin, and how that works, and how that money flow is, and how the entities are. But we figured it was okay. Let's talk about this and figure out, and we can share that and update the information and try to make it better and clearer. So we'll do that as well.
The last question I had is, could you clarify, because for people that haven't joined or that joined late, is so there are two entities here, right? Or are there three entities that are involved in generating revenue for SolarDAO?
And it will be more entities in a sense, but you have the corporate of the SolarBank corporate, like the limited liability company, which is a kind of building solar parks and doing this app which tokenizes a solar park, turns that into solar park NFTs. So that company will work with different solar park developers again. So that's kind of the one part. Yeah.
And that company will send its revenue back to the DAO?
Yeah, I mean, how that app works is that you can go into like the SolarBankDAO or anyone else, you can or I can go into that app and buy those NFT tokens. So that you can do that directly, I want to buy into that specific park in that part of Sweden, or wherever it is. So you can do that, and then you'll get that annual payout from that net revenue from that solar park. And then what SolarBankDAO is doing the same thing, going in and buying those solar park NFT tokens from several parks. So they will get that revenue back again, putting that into an asset pool. So this is all under the SolarBankDAO, buying those tokens from that app, which is really buying shares into those solar parks, and then distributing kind of that annual yield back again to those holders of the watt peak, which is then kind of the stable coin representing that pool of assets.
So SolarBankDAO buys the NFT representations of these solar parks. They buy those from SolarBank Capital, which issues those NFTs?
No, they buy it from this actual solar park owners or developers, and then the SolarBank Corporation is kind of building that app for it. So it will be different solar park developers around the world. So we're doing like the first park that's being done now is together with Scatec Solar, which is one of the largest solar park developers in the world, and they will potentially be able to use that for other parks around there. So it's kind of the point is making solar parks more liquid, making them available for everyone from the beginning, and just kind of not just the big investors, but so that's how that works. So it will be several different solar park developers, but the SolarBank Corporation is kind of doing the NFTs out of those shares of the park, so they can become liquid and tradable and investable in that sense.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So this is explained in the white paper?
Yeah, or at least the SolarBank. Yeah, it's described. I mean, the flow charts are there. It describes mostly the watt peak part and how degenerate part of it is. But happy to share the white paper with you and get your comments.
So if you explain this, like if I'm a DAO member, how does the DAO buy these shares of the parks?
Yeah, maybe we should set up another, I might need to go and pick up my kid from school now, but because it's late afternoon. But this is through the watt peak minter and the staking kind of modules that we are building now, so that anyone can really mint the watt peak. Then that money goes into that asset pool that buys these different solar park tokens, like the NFTs, and they put that into a vault. And they will get the revenue from those solar park tokens and from the actual solar parks into that vault again. And that will turn those kind of yields and pay them out to those holders who are staking the watt peak into the staking module. So you bring kind of the annual revenue from solar parks back as new yield into those who are staking the watt peaks into module. And then the SolarBank or the actual Solar, DAO token holders will get the fees from the minter and the staking. So that's really the value accrual there, is to build those modules and run those.
Yeah, I know you got to run. I appreciate your time. I don't understand how the DAO is, like the Watt Peak token was funded by the DAO to create it, and that's going to integrate with solar parks.
The Watt Peak is kind of the fungible version of these pools of a lot of different solar parks batched together, right? So it's similar to a stable coin where you will have like an asset which is a huge mix of different coins or something like that. I think if you look at Silk or IST or whatever it is. But this is really having an asset base of several different solar parks with different yields and different risks. And then each Watt Peak represent 1 Watt Peak of that batch in a fungible way. So they are all similar. And the more, of course, the assets grow, the more stable this will become. So that's really the Watt Peak again.
Okay. Yeah, and I appreciate your time. I know these are deeper questions, but how does the money who sends the money to the Watt Peak?
Yeah, anyone can mint it. So that's kind of the thing we're building with the funding there now, is to build a minting where anyone can invest in these Watt Peaks. Yeah.
I mean, who sends the revenue to the Watt Peak to be distributed to the solar holders?
Yeah, it comes through the solar park, through the NFTs. So that's kind of paid in there. And then the SolarBankDAO will have this treasury sub-DAO or asset sub-DAO, which will get money and then distribute that to the Watt Peak holders.
Right. And who sends the money to the NFTs? I guess I'm getting where is the real world connection getting into the on-chain world? And who's in charge of that?
Yeah, I mean, we do have the flowcharts and the white paper. I actually need to run, but let's set up that. I have to walk through that and really get that tested. So that was the question to everyone on the white paper as well, to really, battle test the theories behind this and how it will work. And we have, it's kind of described there how it will flow. So really,
maybe German can join, since he's in charge of that, right?
Yeah, he's in charge of the tech side, but of course the connections to the real world is also, as you say, both legal and financial flows. So that's part of that again. Because it's real world assets, as you say, it needs to be bridged.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time. Anybody have questions? Sorry, Bruce, I'm taking over your job.
No, don't worry. I was going to tell you. First of all, oh my God. First of all, I want to just thank Will for taking the time as well, man. And if he has the time to take a question from Tank, I saw he has his hand up earlier. I mean, I'm really fucking around.
No, I'll with excuse me. Excuse me. Hold off for now because I know Will has to run. I will say just a little bit of constructive feedback or criticism, if you will, and I'll try to keep it really short. Man, I'm so confused from listening to what your business model is and what the whole flow is. It sounds like you're really struggling to explain it yourself. And I would suggest, like Ray said, separation. Try not to cross too many things or bring value, or try to bring value by crossing too many lines. Put up a really good, easy, understandable flow chart that is better explaining how this all works before you go any further, man, because I'm fucking lost. And I'm like, I'll be honest, I'm super uninterested right now because I'm confused.
Yeah, I mean, that's the flow chart that we step into the car. But that's the flow chart and the white paper. So I have to share that and look and work through that one.
Thank you so much, Tank. Thank you so much, Will. Yeah, thank you for coming on, man, and answering all the hard questions. It isn't easy when you're sitting in the light. And we're looking forward to seeing the white paper.
Yeah, I'll share the white paper. Thanks a lot for also bringing on the space, right? You see, when you get these kind of polls, and thanks to Ray for doing the work, even if I don't agree with the form it represents the critic in, it's good that it happens. But you also have people just dipping into this, right, and posting shit that they don't know anything about. And I appreciate you, Raccoon guy, saying, okay, rather come on the show and talk about it and dig into it and find out what you think. So it's thanks for the opportunity to do that. So I think it's a good way to sort things out and at least get more clarity. Whichever way you think it still is, right? It's just better to do it in a proper way. So thanks.
No, Will, I just want to say, something what would be good would be to get you and Hermund on maybe, and I hope I said his name right, Hermund, maybe, I don't know, a week or 10 days down the line when you guys have had a chance to do a few things, write some, incorrect mistakes or whatever. And then, we'll have a chat in about a week or 10 days or something, yeah?
Sounds perfect. Let's do it. And I will share the documents before then. I'm happy to.
No worries, man. Take care. You sound like you're breaking up. Go and pick the kids up, yeah? Take care.
Good job, man. Amazing conversation, hard conversation. Happy I'm not on the receiving end of Ray's questions, to be honest.
A difficult conversation, but Tank will tell you a necessary one. These are the issues and these are the things that the more people want to hide away from things, the worse crypto will be. What we're doing right here today, guys, is trying to improve the industry for everybody concerned, and that's it. There's no pitchforks. There's no fucking burning people at the stake. There's none of this. It's like, right, people do fuck up. I've fucked up in my life many times, right? Like, we all don't pay attention to detail at time, or we make mistakes, but people have to understand that there's people like Rama, like Real, like 360 out there who do, regularly chain snipe. And with Mintscan 2.0, there's going to be a lot more data. I mean, there's people going to be paying subscriptions for this data or running the API data feed, whatever, and there's people going to be trawling through fucking everything moving forward. What we've seen recently, like with Aqua, with this now, and this not being the same as Aqua, but being like questionable, yeah, etc., etc. This is only going to get worse. Like for every project, like there's 3 or 4 or 5 chain snipers today. This time next year there'll be 20. The year after there'll be 120. Like it's only going to increase. It's only going to get more intense. The scrutiny's not going to relax.
And the tools are getting better. The tools are getting way, way better.
So doesn't that put projects on a lot more notice, though? To a degree, right?
It does. It really, really does. I know for a fact that Archway are building a structure in the NFT marketplace that's going to make it very, very, very hard for projects to do cash grabs. Because all the revenue from the mint's going to end up in a DAO locked from the beginning.
Bro, I mean, that's really, really good. But like, look at Empower though, right? They've got their own like L1. Obviously, they're taking their time, etc. But all like hard work that they've done in the past could have been wiped out overnight in 1 second by critical errors or relapses in judgment. Yeah, like people just have to be very, very, very fucking careful these days. And thinking you can go and tokenize your DAO and go out there in the public and do what no, dude, that's not how it works. You really need to take a step back and take baby fucking steps right now.
Absolutely. But I want to take one moment to appreciate how few fucking scams there is in the cosmos compared to, let's say, on ETH, right? I had a little stroll on ETH the other day, man, and the first trade I ever did on ARP, the first trade I ever fucking did was a rug pull. I saw it just go from fucking profits to 0 in a second, man. Yeah. Then I went back to the cosmos. Now I'm here again, guys.
The worst thing, Bruce, is that if you recommend a rug pull. So,
yes.
like, if you when I bought into that fucking, I forgot which one it was again, the Shopper one, 2021. I think I threw like a BNB in when like BNB was like $500 or something. I was like, I'll throw a BNB in here, see what it's like. 24 hours later, like, dude, it was a rug pull, and I'd like put it on Twitter, and dude, I've never ever tweeted anything since then. I'm like, fuck that, stay away from it. You got to be careful what you put into, yeah.
Absolutely, man. I got my mom involved in a Bitcoin Ponzi in Usitech, bro, man. I was heartbroken when both of us got scammed.
So Will's gone. Can I just clarify something? There was an air of, we're not scammers, but there was an air of, well, we've been careless. we've not paid attention to detail. We've missed this or we've missed that. Probably they're working on Empower More. This is like, you heard him mention it's a side project, right? But like Ray, the overall like underlying theme here tonight, this morning for you, was like careless, like late, unattentive to detail. Would that be correct, Ray? Or do we think there's something a little bit more behind it still?
Well, I think it's at least that. I think it's a lack of respect for the people that they're shilling the token to.
Yeah, that rang through in what you said today, especially with the like redirect link on the website. I didn't know that. That's a very, very interesting point, that the website was not updated, but it was updated with a link to buy the token, yeah?
There's at least 4 or 5 links on the website to go buy the token. Like they're saying, the issue is that they're saying, well, we told everybody not to buy this token, that it wasn't ready. But all of the public material is go buy this token, minus like one tweet where they said the price may be volatile because of high activity.
Yeah, and then you couple that with the lack of a public apology, that does like start to like raise concerns, yeah.
They started selling the token before, at the same time or before the proposal. The team wallets were selling the token immediately.
Do you know what was very interesting about that? I did pick up on that, Ray, what you said, right? It's a 2-man DAO, right? Governance, yeah?
Two wallets control the entire DAO.
Right, okay. So what they've done is they've had re-voting enabled, and they've obviously had like their period set like way too long. So basically what they did is they kind of like passed it, but they couldn't execute it for 2 weeks. Would that be the correct summary?
That was exactly what he said.
Right, okay. So what he's done is even though it's passed, it was unable to be executed, therefore it's not, on chain, it's not in its entirety, right? So what he's done is he's circumvented their own essential governance system to be able to go and do wallet actions, waiting on that prop to be executed at a future period in time. Is that right? Or am I getting this wrong?
That's how he has colored it. Yeah. I don't know if we can't know intention.
Well, no, you can see when props go up and what the time is on them. This is the whole thing about like deactivating revoting for like all these DAO people that are experts, communication sub-DAO. They're only just now figuring out you can't execute a fucking prop unless you disable revoting the plebs. But never mind. Obviously, they didn't know that or didn't have the intelligence or the foresight to figure that out with a 2-man fucking DAO. You would think so, but
I would like to, before going to KRIS, because he's doing exactly the same. He's starting, not the same, but he's starting a DAO and a business and doing all this stuff in his DAO and keeping it up on chain. I would just like to
keep this on the subject, keep it on Solar.
Yeah, I would just like to highlight how unfortunate it was that his explanation was explanation for almost every question that he raised tonight or this morning, wherever you are in the world, that his answer was like, yeah, that was a mistake, or we didn't know. And he said that he has worked and made a bunch of startups in oil and banking and different sectors and branches. So I don't know. That's a bit unfortunate.
It's a worry. It's a worry that people's due diligence of running companies would be so lacking in its finite execution.
Yeah, Ray, go ahead.
I was going to say that I think the other thing too is that you notice how the definition of what a team is shifted when there were those 5 other wallets that received 800,000 tokens each. And those aren't part of the team, right? But if you look back on that tweet I've shared, they're not accounted for anywhere in those tokenomics and that distribution.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
They were all seeded with money from Will. The initial transactions in every one of those wallets come from Will's personal wallet.
But is Will's personal wallet also the DAO's wallet or the company's wallet?
Yep.
Can't be.
Yeah, but some of those were seeded 8 months ago.
Yeah, but there's no such thing as the DAO. Like the DAO is no one's personal wallet, Bruce, right?
Yeah. I misspoke.
They could have sent,
but the company wallet.
I was going to say they could have sent tokens from the DAO to seed these wallets, like and show like an official trail, right? But instead, the funds all came from his personal wallet,
So it's
which
not
is
a
the
DAO.
DAO wallet.
Well, it's not a DAO.
No,
It's not all the actions that are being taken on these particular wallets and on this token distribution, etc. It's not a DAO. You can't even call it a fucking DAO. They're just using DAO as a pretense that it falls under a DAO. So we all think, oh, it's a DAO, it's good. But nah, it's fucking not. Everything's been getting done in the background. Like whatever discussions off chain, personal wallets, like whatever. This is not a fucking DAO at all.
no, they're just using the infrastructure. Like I pointed out in one of the threads, is there is no way for anyone, even if they bought the entire circulating supply that was available in the liquidity pool, to have a share of influence in the DAO that could influence the vote of the two founders.
Joe, I see your hand up.
Yeah, good morning, guys. I didn't listen to the beginning. I kept getting rugged, but I've been, Ray's been DMing me all the info that he finds out. And what Robo just said is right. These teams are using DAO to give legitimacy to their liquidity pools on Frontier or whatever. And in the end, they don't even need a token, and they're giving themselves the token. I don't know how they're starting up liquidity, but there's a sucker born every day that's going to buy these small cap, ultra low liquidity tokens, hoping they do like 100x. But the DAOs don't need tokens, especially if you use NFTs. And I think the legitimate DAOs eventually will use NFTs, and there will be no fungible token. They'll use Juno, which is what Juno is for, right? Any DAO that's going to use a fungible token, you could just blindly say 9 out of 10 of them are going to be either rug pulls, or they're going to screw with the liquidity pool so bad that it's going to end up an unintentional rug pull. So that's just my take, shooting from the hip.
Just to add to what you're saying, Joe, too, is there's a feature in DAO you don't even need a token. You can give wallets membership in the DAO directly. You don't need an NFT or anything.
And then you don't even need NFTs then, right? You just need wallets that belong to individuals who opt in to be part of the DAO without having to buy in necessarily, because they have an interest in whatever the DAO is trying to accomplish. And you don't need liquidity pools. And what's amazing is that all these guys that are so smart, they don't even realize that their wallets and their transactions can all be tracked back to the beginning of time. And then it's all like, oh, I didn't know. Oh, it was an experiment. Oh, we're just trying to do the right thing. This was unintentional. We're inexperienced. Like we're going to hear that so many times. And DAO is going to be that place where 9 out of 10 projects are either designed to fail from the beginning, or they're just really like off the rails, quote unquote, experiments. But in my opinion, you don't do experiments with real money. So don't call it an experiment. You're screwing with real money. You are trying to thinly veil your marketing to get other people to buy in, most likely. And like I said, the sucker's born every day. I've bought some of these tokens also. Like I like a sucker. I go in, I'm like, oh, all I need is someone to put $1,000 into this pool, and now I could double my money, right? You could almost calculate that with the low liquidity pools. And I bought some of these tokens. I had Aqua tokens. Like I never sold my airdrop. I was waiting for it to go up. So I'm a sucker too. But like I said,
we all got Aqua, whether we wanted to or not.
Yeah. That's the other thing with a DAO. You don't airdrop DAO tokens. That's not how a DAO works. DAOs are opt-in, right? It's like a club that's trying to accomplish one specific purpose. You do not ever airdrop DAO tokens, ever, because then it's not a DAO, right? You're trying to create liquidity for your team to cash out, most likely. So that's my 2 cents on this. And I joke with Jake. I say that DAO is the rug pull app on Juno, and obviously it's going to do way more than that eventually. But right now, all these people who don't realize that someone like Ray can just go on MintScan, track everything from the initial airdrop, connect wallets on different blockchains from one wallet address, and then we didn't know. Oh, this was not the intention. We're trying to help people in Africa. It's going to be the same story. I mean, that's what it is. Like, oh, these people need water. People need groceries, whatever the hell it is. It's all a bunch of bullshit. They're trying to dump token.
Joe, where's Bono? Where's Bob Geldof? Where's Bono?
Yeah. Bob Geldof is gonna sing, "Kumbaya" with Pink Floyd, and we're gonna grow some crops in the desert in Africa.
He's gonna hold hands with V, isn't he? Bob Geldof and V round the campfire singing "Kumbaya."
And I think, we're gonna make this token, and the utility of this token that we're gonna make is that it's going to magically fertilize the desert sand so we can grow crops somewhere where plants haven't grown in 5 million years.
But Joe, you don't understand, the value accrual for the token holder is that what we're going to do is we're going to buy the equipment to make the farms and then charge the people who can't afford to feed themselves to get the food after that. And that's how you're going to get your money back.
Why don't we just go to Africa or whatever, and we just face to face, we set up a table in the middle of where there's no food, and then we help people set up Kepler wallets, and we just give them the tokens directly and say, here are your DAO tokens. Your problem is totally solved. See you later. We're not going to waste time digging wells and all that shit. You just take the token because it's a token, right? We made this
and
token.
You get the revenue for the sucker other tribe that we sell the well to.
Yeah. And then they say, don't worry, because you're making 50% APR on this token that I just made up yesterday.
So literally, you won't believe it. I think I sent you the thread, right? There was somebody that suggested they do that.
Listen, if I was starving to death, at least there would be like a consolation prize to be getting like triple-digit APR for the last few days of my life,
Get handed down to your grandkids. It's terrible to say.
But my motto would be, at least you get an NFT, right? Get an NFT. Airdrop somebody one of those NFTs and they'll feel better.
Something quality made off of Midjourney.
But yeah,
guys,
DAO is becoming the launch pad for rug pulls, and these people, I didn't know, and we'll eventually connect these people to other projects with different Twitter handles.
I just want to ask KRIS how hard it is to make a business in a DAO and setting it up and keeping everything on chain.
For what I'm doing, it's not very difficult, but it's good to be able to look at this Aqua mess and what's this new one that he's talking about that Ray's digging into? The one y'all been discussing this morning. Solar. So it's good to watch. For one, props to Ray for doing all the digging, and but it's good to watch and see. I find it hard to believe that, especially in Aqua, some of that wasn't intentional. In this one, it's a little bit more. I don't know. I hate to throw people under the bus, but I've listened in a little bit this morning, and I know there's lots of things that they're doing that, it's good for me to see how this works out, right? Like, I'm learning what you don't do, that's for sure. But for me, I've been in crypto long enough, I already knew not to do any of this shit. So
just run it like a regular business. Just be transparent about what you're doing.
Exactly. And, I do disagree with Joe on one thing he just said. I wish he hadn't dropped down. I think you can airdrop DAO tokens. We're doing an airdrop, and if I get what he's saying, if the team hosts, like, say, 30% of the supply and they got vesting and they can like dump on their stakers every single year when they invest, I get it. You are, in that sense, creating liquidity. But I think there's ways you can do it where you don't, as a team, dump all over your stakers, and that's where I think the airdrop can still be useful. For us, we're going to airdrop 10% of the supply to the NFTs. Like, so why would I give 10% of the supply to the DAO to random Juno stakers that are just going to dump the token and they don't give a shit about the project? But if you're buying an NFT to play the game or to stake in the game, like, I think they absolutely deserve some governance. So I don't think it's like a cut and dry. I guess what I'm saying is you can't generalize it. It is very project specific and how it's set up. I'm gonna shut up. Joe's got his hand up now.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have said that I've never seen airdropping a DAO token be reasonable, and you're 100% right. It's definitely project specific, right? Like, you could airdrop DAO tokens to existing communities, like pinpoint using either NFTs or wild activities. Say, okay, these 1,000 people would be, most likely the target for building a good community. We'll airdrop some tokens. But if you airdrop tokens, in the end, what I've seen is it's all to just get some initial interest out there so that a liquidity pool can be set up. I shouldn't have generalized that way.
Oh
My
yeah,
kid's rugging me right now. Listen.
oh yeah, and for sure, in general, I do agree with you, Joe. I think that it's a problem in crypto. I think it's a problem in DeFi. I think we have to change. Like you talk about tokenomics a lot, Joe. You and I are very aligned on that. You can ask. One of my first conversations I ever had with Bruce was about how crappy tokenomics are in DeFi and how it's got to change. If we don't mature the space and try something different, you just can't keep having every 4 years these same bull runs with the same crap tokenomics where we're rug pulling all the new people. Because then people give up.
Yep.
They either turn into Bitcoin
maxis. You're creating a nice fat bullseye for regulators to come in, and I almost don't blame them if the U.S. regulators come in and snuff out 90% of what's out there, because it's a lot of these guys that, you know, they consider themselves experts in Web3, but they just can't seem to realize that triple digit APRs are not sustainable. And in the end, we're all coming from a system where we consider 8% inflation to be high. And we're running from that as fast as we can. And then we're like, oh, look, 800% inflation. This is so much better. And I'm one of those suckers too. Believe me, I chased APRs.
Me too.
I got punched in the face so many times with Osmo tokens and stars. And it's like, but I like the platform. The tokens have almost nothing to do with the platform.
Yeah, but that's worrisome, man. Like for everyone that loves Stargaze, like you don't want Stargaze to crumble and fail long term because of crap decisions on tokenomics, man. These guys are working on smarter.
A few people are working on that now.
Great to hear, man. Ray, I've seen your hand up. Go ahead, man. And then we could go to Don afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say with what KRIS is saying too, is that I think you can do airdrops, but you just can't airdrop to randos. And in the explanation you're kind of putting forth, KRIS, is that, look, these are basically, we won't use the word investors. So these are people who decided to put some stake in the project and they bootstrap the liquidity by purchasing the NFTs, basically. And then there needs to be a way, and once the token exists, it can be used as a way to get people who already have skin in the game, to participate in the system and building value for it. Because it definitely comes down to, like, how do you create utility for the token, and how do you incentivize the use of it? It has to have utility. It has to go somewhere. You can't just have people speculating with it.
I was just going to add that I think one of the biggest challenges is how do you have a governance token that also doubles as like some kind of currency for your project, and then at the same time people are speculating like crazy and swinging the price. But I don't think it's hard to serve its original purpose, as the DAO token.
But like I know, like, governance on a L1 isn't a DAO token, but isn't that basically Juno, Cosmo, Osmo, every token, every coin out there you just described?
Yeah, I look at the layer 1 tokens in Cosmos as DAO tokens, and part of the reason why, we talked about the inflation, but now as the prices go down 90 to 99% on most of them except for Atom, governance can get gamed really easily, because you have people even like tweeting out, oh, I'm trying to accumulate 1 million Juno tokens, when it's the same person who made a lot of the bad decisions, used their influence to crash the token in the first place. And you wonder how much of this is a game and how much of it is intentional, where you have these quote unquote influential team members doing things that absolutely affect the price. And then all of a sudden, Juno's below $1 and everyone's buying it like crazy. They're going to have even more influence at the top of the next market. And let's not forget, Juno already confiscated tokens from the biggest community stakeholder, right? And you could say what you want about the airdrop, but that couldn't have been done if there weren't enough tokens in the right hands.
And with that said, that's a good point, Joe. I just want to go to Don and welcome him up. He's been waiting there for a moment.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for having this space. Thank you, Robo. I think it's Bruce. It's the RAC FM.
Yeah.
And cool. See you guys on Twitter all the time. I don't really speak too much on Spaces, but and thank you, Ray. I've seen Ray's work, for a while, especially through the whole Aqua mess, and I greatly appreciate the work he puts in, the research, which is second to none. So I appreciate you for what you're doing. I'm speaking. I just wanted to come up here and speak just because I have invested into Solar as via the NFT, and I own a few of the NFTs, and I'm also in the Solar Discord. Now, I am far from a blockchain expert. I'm far from good at inspecting mint scans and all that good stuff. So I have to get better with that, and that's something I've admitted to, in our respective Discords. But one thing I will say, just to kind of give another side of things, is Will, which is the founder of Solar, if you're on their Discord and you have any question to address to Will, and you're on their on his Discord, especially with Germond also, those guys do not hide anything. Those guys, when you ask them a question, they answer it. They are constantly just in tune with their direct community on there. So I'm not sure. I mean, just from hearing the space, and again, like, I appreciate all you guys for what you're doing. I do feel that overall that there are a few things that can be ironed out when it comes to the transparency, when it comes to full disclosure. But one thing I've gathered is that those guys, they have done their darn best in keeping in communication with their investors that are on their Discord. And I can speak for a lot of them that are on there and say that, like, we don't feel like we're out in the dark when it comes to what they're doing. And whenever we have questions, those guys hit it. So one thing I would highly recommend, which you guys already have recommended to Will, is having both Will and Germond back with Ray for another session, just to go deeper, because there's so many moving parts. I do feel that, again, there are things that need to be there definitely needs to be better dotting of the I's and crossing of T's. That's a fact. That's something that's indisputable. But I just feel that, like, especially ending the call, Will is off here. He can't defend himself. Everyone has their own opinions. I definitely feel that there definitely needs more. There needs to be more disclosure. There needs to be more clarity, and that would just help the overall community. Because one thing I will say is that, with Ray and his research and what he has been putting on Twitter, like, I think Ray understands at this point that he has a lot of influence, especially after what happened with Aqua and how he just dismantled that whole operation with his research, which was, again, it was pretty outstanding. But his voice is powerful, whether he knows it or not, to a point where just by him tweeting something, just tweeting a question about something, can really influence an investor to make a move or not make a move. So he has a lot of power, and I feel like I'm just checking the numbers. A lot of people bailed out on Solar, I'm pretty sure, because of Ray's tweets. And I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do or the wrong thing, but he has a lot of power. And I feel that, long story short, without getting too much, going too far in, having another Spaces, going into some more detail, I think that'll be very good for the community. And the space was phenomenal today, so I thank you guys. And I just wanted to give a perspective from an investor standpoint. Again, I'm not super educated. You guys are super in detail with stuff. I got to get better with that, especially with this whole blockchain stuff. This stuff is like hieroglyphics to me for the most part. But I appreciate what you guys are doing, and definitely another space, and a fair space where Will and Germond can speak, and Ray can give his side, they can give their sides. I think that'd be very amazing to building and going to the next level here. So thank you guys.
Thank you for that perspective, Don. Thank you for coming up and speaking. Really appreciate it. Nice to hear another perspective, and hear from a guy that's been deeply involved on the Discord. Go ahead, Ray. You have your hand up.
Hey, Don. Yeah, I really appreciate you coming up, and I had a question for you if you're willing to take it. Yeah, I know it's really nerve-wracking to come up and speak in a space, and I totally agree in the sense that I try to be very careful with what I write, and I try to double-check everything that I would put on Twitter to make sure, because, whether it's anything that gets put on Twitter, regardless of the accuracy, can influence things. And so I really don't want to build a reputation of being, I won't name names of others, but being kind of off the cuff and having to walk stuff back. So, and in that sense, I would say that, like, we're getting two messages. Like, I feel for the investors in solar, and then I don't think anybody can make a claim of, what influences the token price one way or the other. To a great degree, I don't think I'm that powerful, but like, from your perspective, like, what is the value of solar, the token? How does that accrue value, and how do you understand the whole SolarDAO, watt power, WP token, and SolarBank capital? Like, how do you understand how those things fit together as somebody who's been in the Discord and the team has been, informing you?
Yeah, so that's a great question. That's something that, all right, so let's start with the SolarBank DAO. So from what I understand, because again, I'm not an expert in this stuff. I'm still learning. So the SolarBank is pretty much the foundation of what those guys are doing over there, and how that connects to the watt power. I mean, the watt power is basically the entity or the token that's used to basically fund pretty much the solar banks that are being built out over in the different regions that they're investing into. So that's pretty much like the overall, like the exact details. I couldn't really explain it that well. Like I'm just a simple investor when it comes to this stuff. So for me to actually explain how those two things work, I'm still learning it myself personally. So that's why, like, I'm saying to you guys that, like, I would definitely love for them to come back on and explain more, just because I'm learning this stuff. I'm still trying to figure out how the different things work. But for me to explain it in detail, I would struggle with that, which is what I'm doing right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, no worries, man. I mean, I didn't even looking for a detailed explanation. So it sounds like, and excuse me if I put words in your mouth here. It sounds like you like the idea of investing in solar, and that there was some indication or promise of revenue in some way, shape, or form coming back to holders that purchased solar, right? And that's why you invested.
Definitely. That's a big reason why I invested. Yes.
Cool. So I would say, like, for the next space too, and I know if anybody else wants to talk, but for the next space, I don't even think I need to be involved. I think it would just be good for people to ask Will and German questions about how this whole thing works.
Could be. I think, I don't know, but this is just my first-hand thought when you said that. I think if there is redemption to be found, I think it would be good if you were there while it happened. Do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah. Sorry, I pushed the thumbs down, but I meant the thumbs up. Yeah, I think it just needs to be, if you're starting a business, you have a business plan, right? And there should be a business plan presented, like a concrete business plan that lays this out from I bought solar to I got a return on my investment. And this is how the sausage is made. And I think that's just the only fair and responsible thing to do to people who bought the token.
I agree. There's a different culture in DeFi in general, but I completely agree with your sentiment. I just want to say hey to Rebel NFT for coming up. Thank you for coming up, man. You've been waiting a bit.
Yeah, hi. I hope I'm speakable, but I was in the car, and I always listen to it, not always, but I listen to RAC FM in the car, and I just hit the mic, the request to speak button by accident. But I don't know really a lot about solar, but I just agree with Ray on Web3 being sometimes really rough and hard to find out what's blockchains or tokenomics, or what kind of investments you are promised in return. Like, I'm just more of a keep it simple and stupid kind of guy, so I want to know what people want to do and basically want to understand what they are trying to do in my simple mind, because just like Don, I'm just a simple investor, also a project co-founder, but just a simple, keep it simple and stupid. And I find it very hard to understand basic tokenomics and how they return your investment, and it's all based on a promise, basically. So like a good plan and a good simple and stupid, like talk to me like I'm a kid and I understand it. That's what I want to see in a roadmap or a white paper. And sometimes these things are just not readable at all. Like you read them and you're like, what are you talking about here? So yeah, keep it simple and stupid for me. It would be a key. I don't know basically if Solar does this, but I would explain this to any chain. Keep it simple.
Thank you, Rebel. I think it's good to keep it simple. If you have a product that is simple and easy to explain, or at least if you are able to do it, it's way easier to convince people to buy it at least. Ray, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think for Don in this too, if you know, in the DAO or in the Discord, I think the real question that came out of the end of the conversation, and I know Will had to leave, but I think the thing that's not made clear is how does the investment in the physical solar park transfer back to the owners of solar? Like, what is the connection? Because it seems like what is kind of being explained is there's this SolarBank Capital company, which Will is a shareholder in and on the board of directors, that is doing some facilitation of this, and then the money, the revenue, in some way, which we didn't get explained, I think, would be moved back to the DAO, or part of it would be transferred back to the DAO. But I think that's the big question: is like, how does this go from physical solar park to the owner of the solar token? And especially when the owner of the solar, 90% of the supply of the solar token is Will and his partner. I'm not sure necessarily what that revenue is going to look like. If they're saying 8% per year and 90% of that 8% is going to go to them, I mean, you're looking at less than, 1% of 8%, essentially.
How do you feel when you hear that, Don? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. I feel that, and kind of generalizing and taking Ray's question, I feel that the cosmos as a whole, when it comes to tokenomics, is overall not good, and that's using those words in a very nice way. So many tokens, I won't even name the tokens, like I feel they were based on Ponzi-nomics to begin with. So there's a lot of people that were taking money off the top, a lot of investors that, well, a lot of, let's see, I'm going to say VCs, but a lot of main investors into these projects, main founders, were the ones that were the main beneficiaries of the profits of the projects. High APRs, biggest amount of profits went to those investors. So I say all that to say that one thing that I know of that Solar is doing is through their LPs, their intention was to get their tokens out to the community, have people invest into it. And one thing I will say within that was, in our Discord, multiple times, Will did disclose, yes, we have the Solar token on the osmosis pool. If you guys can invest into it, invest into it. But what happened is that the token price skyrocketed. And then the minute that happened, he told our Discord members, hey guys, and he told us this multiple times. Hey guys, these numbers are really high. Be very careful. I'm not saying don't invest into it, but is a very good risk that this is just high token prices because of the high APR. And we didn't expect the price to go to this high amount. So just be very careful in investing. So a lot of our Discord members were not surprised and actually expecting for the price to come back down pretty heavily because of people obviously heavily investing into the LPs and taking advantage of the high APRs, and then once they come down a little bit, dumping the token. So the decrease of the token wasn't a surprise to us. So anyway, when it comes to what the solar parks do, the high amount of revenue going back to the founders, myself personally, I don't see a problem with that, especially if whatever I invest into the project, if I get back the percentage that I'm due, then it is what it is. So if I own, for example, with the airdrop, if I own 4 Solar Hero NFTs and the first airdrop shoots out 250,000 Solar tokens and my percentage is 2,000, if I get my 2,000 tokens, I'm fine. And that's exactly what happened. So the first distribution of the airdrop, I got the percentage that I was due. So what the founders want to do, if they make 90% off of the 100%, in my opinion, they deserve it because they founded the project. And one thing they are doing is that they are, through the LP, whether this works or not, they are distributing a huge amount of tokens to get the tokens out to the community, if you will. So if they get a huge majority of it, to your question, I don't mind that because they did what they had to do. Like any founder, they're going to get the high majority of the profits. So I have no problem with that. Long story short, as long as I get my part that I'm promised, I'm fine. Hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Don, man. Appreciate it. Ray?
It's so cool. I appreciate you in here, Don. I'm not, this kind of harkens back to Mike F. and Aqua. It's so refreshing to be able to get into the mind of somebody who believes in a project. Because it's interesting to hear the perspective that you're giving. I had 2 questions, or maybe one statement, and then one question. I'll do the statement later. But during the time when they were cautioning you to get involved, or when they were cautioning you about investing and cautioning the Discord in investing, were they also disclosing that they were actively, personally selling the tokens?
For my memory, I can't fully recall that. So I'm not saying that they did it, but I can't fully recall if they disclosed that.
Yeah, and it's just a question because it seems like, hey, be careful. And we're going to take profit here because this price is insane. I mean, that if I was the DAO person, and I'm speculating here, right? If I was the founder of the DAO and I had a bunch of tokens and the price went to the moon, I would be like, this is going to bootstrap our DAO. It's stupid for us not to take and get some cash to bootstrap operations. But my question would be I know they did put up the proposal to sell 50,000, but that proposal should have been executed on April 1st, and they were selling pre-execution and then pre-proposal as well out of some of the wallets. So my other comment would be, I know that you're saying you're going to get 2,000 tokens or whatever out of the 250,000 that were airdropped as part of the NFT collection. I think the other thing to keep in mind there is that there are 500 other people, because it was a full mint. There are 500 other people getting those tokens as well. And, if they all dump, I think it's pretty much mathematically impossible for everybody to get their investment back at this point.
Okay. So, I'm not sure what you mean by that regarding getting their investment back. What do you mean by that? If you can clarify, Ray?
Yeah, I just mean if people were to sell the token after the airdrop, the price is doing what it's doing now. Is the people are liquidating they're claiming and liquidating the solar they claimed, and it's driving the price lower and lower. And so there's, are you saying that with 250? Or with 2,500, which is, I believe, what the airdrop was, or 1,000. It was between 1,000 and 10,000, depending on the wallet. So was it one? Yeah. Anyway, but with those tokens that you received at the price that it's at now, are you saying that that's a break even for your NFT buy? I'm not making this personal to you, just asking.
No, absolutely not. After the price dropped, based on where the price is at now, you wouldn't get back your investment. Absolutely. My whole vision with it, I mean, just again, my unexpert opinion or my unexpert standpoint, I'm not investing into this for the early return on the airdrops. I was of the opinion that when the airdrop was announced, there's a good chance a token would hit around 10 cents a token. There was one point the token was in the 60 to 70 cents a token. And basically when the token airdrop, it was around 10 cents. Now it's maybe 2 cents a token. So at this point, it's gonna be very hard to recoup just off the airdrop. However, I do see the potential of what the project is aiming to do. There are, future incentives that we're seeing when it comes to holding the NFT. So from my end, I'm not expecting to get my rate of return back just off of the airdrops, to answer your question.
Cool. I really appreciate you taking the time to answer and to just have the conversation. Do you have any questions from this side, like of anything that's concerning you or that you wanted maybe? I guess I would still consider myself fairly objective. Like I have no ownership. I've never bought solar. I have no interest in buying solar. So
can you say that one more time? I lost you for a second.
I was just saying, do you have any questions about the tokenomics or about anything that was discussed today that I could possibly provide any evidence or clarification on?
No, not really. Like you guys, again, like Ray, the research he's done already, like it definitely makes you, this is the thing, like I work some pretty crazy hours. I have my own, obviously, like we all do, have our own work schedules, business schedules. From my end, this is just an illumination on the fact that we need to do better as investors, doing our own due diligence and research. So, with the back and forth between Will and Ray, it just brought clarity that I just need to be more informed. I need to do more research. I need to get better and read in the blockchain. I need to do better on reading mint scans, all that good stuff. Because in my workspace and what I do, I'm super technical. In the Web3 world, I am a dumb nuts. Like I don't know what's going on. I know some stuff. Let me not bring myself down too much. I know some stuff, but compared to guys like you and Ray and some of the people on the call like Gigi and Dirty Harry, like I am very much behind the 8 ball. So I just got to do better. And with Ray asking the question of how does solar relate to the watt peak and all that stuff, I can maybe explain it in maybe a more one-on-one conversation standpoint, but being on a general stage, I'm having a hard time explaining it. So I guess it's just the nervousness of being on stage. But more questions at this point? No, I just feel we just need another session and the objectivity of you guys. And I feel that we can grow and get better as a community as a result of, learning from this. So that's just my standpoint.
Yeah, you've done great, man. I really appreciate you being brave enough to talk in public on this. And I have one final question, if you'll humor me. And this is probably a short answer, is when they distributed the token and they did the token genesis event, or you may not have been around for that, but have they ever mentioned those 5 wallets that received 800,000? Have they ever mentioned any other team members?
Yeah. So from what I know, I knew that they had another team member that was actively working on the project. And there was an issue at a point where that team member, when the token was distributed, he dumped a huge amount of tokens, and that's documented. So I'm aware that team member, he's somewhere on Twitter. But regarding the 5 wallet stuff, was I aware of that? I wasn't aware of that. I'm not saying that they didn't put that out there because I'm in their Discord. I'm not like on there 100% of the time, but I am aware of another team member that's not a part of their team anymore. And but I'm not aware of the 5 wallets. That wasn't something that was brought to my attention before this the back and forth between Ray and the team.
Cool, thanks, man. I don't expect you to be the expert. I just wanted to know if that was stuff that was disclosed. So thanks. So I really, really appreciate it. It's nice to just have a civil conversation and learn more about this.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on here to speak. I appreciate that. And thank you for the space. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Tori. Don.tori. Really appreciate you coming up and giving another perspective in the matter. Just so I like the holistic sense, the holistic perspective approach to things. So everything has so many nuances. So it's just nice to have more. If nobody wanna come up and talk and have any questions or a final comment, I think I'm gonna close down the space. Well over 2 hours. Finn's gonna love this. Finn loves when it goes over 2 hours on the recorded ones. Thank you guys. This was RAC FM hosted by Bruceman. We got through a lot of stuff. Ray, he's probably a bit more clarified, maybe not. Never know with Ray. He just likes to dig, man. Really appreciated Will coming on and everybody that spoke today. And as final cherry on top of our Sunday on this Thursday, we had Don come up and give a perspective as a retail investor. So much appreciated everybody. See you tomorrow for a special space, RAC FM Friday, the Friday space with Straylight. Gonna listen in, man. Gonna hear what he has to say. Maybe he's gonna reveal some of his secrets. I'm pretty sure he's an AI, but tune in tomorrow, man. This was Bruceman on RAC FM. I'll see ya, plebs.
It's the RAC show coming from the RAC store. With this back in the Mac in the backflow. Let's go, chillin' with raccoons by the back door. Take calls so you can stake more. All I wanna do is making dough, right? But I found this crew and doing alright. We RAC will bitch, ready to fight. So many raccoons ready for the boss life. I might fly high like a kite, right? But always ready for a shite for the right price. Raccoon supply has the right price. Giving you respect if it's likewise. So I'm buying all the mean guys with the clean heart. Read between lies, laser beam through lean eyes. Larry or with clean lies, trash mouth, mean smile, be wise. NFT wise, fuck with these guys. It's the RAC rap from the back lab. 100 NFTs in my backpack. Crazy RAC rap from the stash app. RAC will take a lead in this haystack. It's the RAC rap from the back lab. 100 NFTs in my backpack. Crazy RAC back from the stash app. RAC will take a lead in this haystack. Blast that RAC rap from the stash app. Supplying the raccoons with a headbang rap. RAC gang with the RAC will slang like a trash can. Hoodie with fangs and a gold chain. It's either RAC will or the red pill. Best chill while we get into the first meal. Best feel, best devs with the best skill. No shill, all real, secret is a great deal. RAC will insane, Shane better stand fast. Robo shooting his tweets with straight facts. Knowledge from the street, with the best plan yet. Winston gotta eat if you retweet that. Free of a live feed from the base camp. McKenna always ready if you dare that. Buying all raccoons for his rare stash. Trash panda biker gang, motherfucking hashtag. It's the RAC rap from the back lab. 100 NFTs in my backpack. Crazy RAC rap from the stash app. RAC will take a lead in this haystack. It's the RAC rap from the back lab. 100 NFTs in my backpack. Crazy RAC back from the stash app. RAC will take a lead in this haystack.